God's glorious morning, my beloveds. I have to look at each one of you, your beautiful faces who've shown up today, holding the space of love and remembering we get to wake up together. We get to remember who we are. And I'm getting a little bit emotional because I'm in such celebration. Life is good no matter what. I didn't think I would see Christmas. I didn't even think about it. I was hoping to get through the summer. And I'm so alive sometimes. I feel so vibrant and so alive. Sometimes I go, am I still sick? Am I sick? Well, this is a weird, it's a very interesting reality in consciousness when you know the truth of who you are. I know that my life is eternal. I know that no matter what happens, it is all good. And so I'm living in that reality. And yet I know that my body is going through a physical experience that is undeniable. So we don't deny reality. We accept the illusion, but we know the truth. And the truth is that we are ageless, timeless beings of light. And this season is about reawakening to this knowledge of the light that we are, because we're intellectual beings, but it is who we are. We renew our devotion to the light. So we are reborn, we become like little children again. And that's what Yeshua, his Hebrew name, that is what he represents, this reconnection, this recommitment to the light. The world was so dark in consciousness. We were living so much in our ego, in fight or flight, in an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, in that reality of the darkness of ego, that an avatar, God sent, a way shower, a guru, a teacher that would illumine in the mind of humanity the truth that we are God created. We are not only flesh and blood, we are God's children. That is what had to come through. So there are scholars that say that Jesus existed. There are others who say he didn't. It doesn't matter. But I know that I cannot bring the light alone. I know that I must connect to a higher power, that we all must do that. So in my mind and in my consciousness, I believe that Jesus, the man, became awakened, became the God man, became the God being, awakening to the consciousness of God. I believe that happened, and I believe that this spiritual being that we call Jesus the Christ is alive today, leading us forward. But it looks a little different than what we were taught in our more traditional spiritual upbringings. But Christ consciousness and Jesus are real, because we need a way shower. I don't know about you, but I can't do this life alone. I need a guru, I need a teacher, I need an I am presence that is leading me through the darkness. So my beloveds, when I was meditating on this sermon, Joseph came to mind. Joseph, the father, the adoptive father of Jesus. So I will read from Matthew chapter 1, verses 18 through 25. This is how the birth of Jesus, the Messiah, came about. His mother, Mary, was pledged to be married to Joseph. But before they came together, she was found to be pregnant through the Holy Spirit. Because Joseph, her husband, was faithful to the law and yet did not want to expose her to public disgrace, he had in mind to divorce her quietly. But after he had considered this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife, because what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus, which in Hebrew means God saves. Oh, God saves. Joshua, the great teacher, because he will save his people from their sins. All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophets. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. When Joseph woke up, he did what the angel of the Lord had commanded him and took Mary home as his wife. But he did not consummate their marriage until they gave birth to a son, and he gave him the name Jesus. Jesus, which means Yeshua, in Hebrew, God saves. So, my beloved, how profound the spiritual underpinning, the spiritual mystical meaning of this story. Joseph, who represents our human mind, who was frightened to do something that was out of the norm. This young woman that his family and her family had brought them together because things were arranged in that time in history. This would be a public shaming for everyone, and Mary would have been stoned to death. She would have died because what had happened was criminal for a woman in that time. And because he was a holy man devoted to practicing the presence of God, he wasn't interested in who she had slept with or what had happened. He was going to follow the law. There were universal laws, my beloveds. They cannot be broken. We can do whatever we want. But based by the law of our thinking, our actions, our emotions, it will be done unto us. So he, as a spiritual being, was following the law. And what a generosity of spirit. He was going to divorce her secretly so she wouldn't have to live her life in shame. What would that have looked like in a small Nazareth town? I can't imagine. Would they perform like they were married? What would it look like? But he was willing to sacrifice his life and to sacrifice his place in society in order to follow the law that had come down through the prophets, Moses, Abraham, all the holy ones. And that willingness to follow the law or to be conscious of universal laws opens our crown chakra, and we are therefore guided. And the angel of the Lord came to Joseph. So, my beloveds, on this third Sunday of Advent, which is typically in the ecclesiastical calendar of the Christian churches throughout the world, Orthodox and more progressive, it is typically called Gratitude Sunday because we celebrate the joy and the love that Joseph exhibited, not what he would look like, not his ego, not about his male privilege or his status in society, but he chose love over fear, and that creates joy in consciousness. So unity emphasizes the deeper theme of love conquering fear. This theme is beautifully illustrated in the stories of Joseph and the shepherds. Both Joseph and the shepherds faced fear in life-altering moments. Joseph feared the unknown when Mary was found to be with child, and the shepherds were so afraid when the angels appeared to them in the fields. Yet in both cases, divine messages, fear not, moved through them to choose love over fear. Joseph chose Mary to accept and the divine idea that she carried, and the shepherds chose to follow the angel's messages, seeking the Christ child. Their story shows us that when we let love guide us, fear loses its power. So the metaphysical interpretation. The story of Joseph accepting Jesus is a spiritual metaphor for each one of us. 1, Mary symbolizes our receptive, intuitive nature, the part of us that conceives divine ideas through spirit. 2, Joseph represents our rational mind, often resistant to these divine ideas because they disrupt our sense of control. Can you imagine a Jewish man in antiquity living life according to the spiritual laws of his religious tradition? Everything always worked according to the law. For the Sabbath, you couldn't even, sweep your house. Observant Jews were beholden to the law, and then a wrench like this, something outside of the ordinary. How destabilizing. Joseph is us. It could be the bank account. It could be relationships. It could be just getting older in a world that is filled with ageism. It could be deception and hurt, betrayals, that thing that just destabilizes us. And our mind does not want to accept. And our mind can go into bitterness. Joseph could have gotten so bitter and vengeful. He could have been the first one that dragged her to the town square and threw the biggest and the first rock. And yet, the angel, because he was following the law and because he wanted to do right by Mary, this divine idea, not understanding it. So my beloved, sometimes we will get a divine idea about our health, about our wealth, about our relationships. We don't understand it. We don't understand why we are being guided in such a way. We must hold it in secret. We must be hushed about it. Before we understand what God is doing in our lives, we must be secret, contemplating the meaning, not sharing it, because we are not clear yet on what this divine guidance truly is, and await the angel of the Lord. The angel represents divine inspiration, the inner voice of spirit, calling us to trust in God's plan, even if it challenges our understanding. My beloveds, you know about my journey with this dis-ease. I was raised to believe in experts. I have been surrounded with the VIP of medical experts. I know that I'm loved by God. And yet there has been something within me that has been pushing me, guiding me in the face of death to do it in a different way. I do not understand. I don't know who I am. I don't know where this Martine, who is so courageous, has come from. I would be in a puddle. Other things in my life have destroyed me. But I know that it's because the angel of the Lord, the divine presence within me, is my strength. We may not understand why, my beloveds, but we must trust as Joseph did. So the angel, I will repeat again, represents divine inspiration, the inner voice of spirit, calling us to trust in God's plan, even when it challenges our understanding. Jesus, Yahshua, whose name means God saves. I have a mother who is so mystical. She's always telling me to say, you have to say the voice of Jesus over and over and over and over again. And I say to myself, well, I'm not as Catholic as Mom. I understand. I am a Jesus follower. But now that I know what his name means in Hebrew, God saves. Who wouldn't want to say that? Forever. Yeshua, Yeshua, Yeshua. God saves. There is truth in these stories, my beloveds. We are being told the reality and the secrets of the universe if we would but listen and hear and practice. This sacred text, the Bible, offers us a key to life. Stop allowing your ego and what happened before and church trauma and what that pastor did hold you back from embodying and knowing and allowing these spiritual, mystical truths to be revealed to you. Seek after the one, Emmanuel, God with us. This is what it means. It reminds us of our oneness with the divine. God is always with us. God is always with us, but we must declare it and know it and embody it. We must choose love, fearlessness, courage, bravery in times of darkness. God with us. Joseph's willingness to trust the angel's message and accept Jesus mirrors our own journey when we overcome fear and allow divine love to be reborn in us. The shepherds, I love the shepherds. The shepherds represent the part of us that feels small or unworthy, often startled by the call of spirit. Who am I? Who am I to hear the voice of spirit? Who am I to download a divine idea? Who am I? The world tells us you're crazy if you're listening to that voice or your gut. We're told to be intellectual, to be logical, to be rational, to be reasonable. And when we get that intuitive guidance, we think we're crazy. Where's that coming from? That's a dumb idea. Never assume it's a dumb idea. It's a divine idea, bypassing your logical mind. We live so much in the brick and mortar of being in these bodies that we forget who we are, whose we are. And the intuitive impulse is the divine reminding us that we are spiritual beings, having a human experience. Follow that guidance. Be not afraid. When the angel appeared and said, "Fear not," they too had a choice to remain in fear or move towards love and divine purpose. Their decision was to seek the Christ child. It teaches us that even in the face of overwhelming change, love is the path that leads us to the divine. So what are the key lessons? Fear not. Trust divine guidance. Number one, Joseph and the shepherds remind us that fear is natural, but it does not have to define our choices. Divine love always offers another path. Number two, let's practice like Joseph, choosing love over fear. Joseph could have rejected Mary, and the shepherds could have stayed in the fields, yet they chose to act in faith, love, and courage. We too are called to rise above fear, trusting that love will guide us to our greater good. Three, like Joseph, listen to the voice of spirit. Listen to the voice of spirit. My beloveds, in 2024, I really believe in this time on the planet, it is so important to be anchored into God. It is so important to listen to your divine guidance. I feel like I'll just say it, there is a fight of light and darkness. We are descending into a lot of darkness. Our material existence has gotten so easeful, so gluttonous that it is easy to forget God. It really is. We have every technology at our fingertips. We have all of the voices on social media impacting our nervous system, going into our minds. This is all hypnosis, my beloveds. Messages that are being repeated over and over again. Anchor yourselves in God. Learn to live by your intuition. It may actually be extremely crucial at this stage on the planet. This is not the time to forsake your inner knowing and your connection with the divine. So listen to the voice of spirit. Like Joseph's dream and the angelic messages to the shepherds, spirit is always speaking to us. Through prayer and meditation and stillness, we hear divine guidance and trust its wisdom. Choose to trust. The universal teachings, this is what I love about our New Thought tradition. We are anchored in our Christian roots, but we are universal in our understanding of God. So here are some quotes about choosing love over fear, trusting God and having faith. Christianity, perfect love casts out fear. Love is divine power that dissolves fear. It is a tool. It is a sword. It is powerful. It is a reality. It is a universal force. Use it. In Islam, we hear, indeed, those who have believed and whose hearts are assured by the remembrance of Allah, unquestionably by the remembrance of Allah, God, hearts are assured. So faith in God, faith in spirit brings peace and courage. The Kabbalah tells us in the tree of life, Chesed, love, overcomes fear and judgment, balancing our spiritual path. In Hinduism, in the Bhagavad Gita, it reminds us to trust in the divine. When a man lets go of all desires, man or woman lets go of all desires and acts free from longing, she finds peace. In Buddhism, the Buddha reminds us of the middle way, teaching us to transcend fear by practicing mindfulness and compassion. In the Tao, being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. Love is the path of harmony and strength. How do we apply the principles of Advent, this third Advent Sunday? Practice mindfulness. Like Joseph and the shepherds, we can pause in moments of fear and listen to spirit. Practicing daily meditation creates space for divine guidance. 2, affirmative prayer. Affirm, I release fear and I trust in divine love. I'm guided by spirit. All is unfolding in perfect order. Learn to affirm the truth, the good, and the beautiful in your life. And choose love as an action practice. In times of uncertainty, ask, what would love do in this moment? Let the love of God, the love of yourself, the love of your family, the love for humanity lead your life. So as we celebrate this third Sunday of Advent, let us reflect on Joseph's courage and who chose love over fear and embraced divine guidance. The stories of Joseph and the shepherd remind us that the Christ presence within us is always ready to be reborn when we release fear and open our hearts to love. My beloveds, bow your heads in prayer. Place your hands on your heart. And I'm speaking for all of us, where we are one with the one who forever is. Beloved Spirit, infinite Father, Mother, Creator, Christ mind, higher power, source, we give thanks for this sacred season of Advent. We affirm that love conquers fear, and we choose to walk in the light of divine love. May the Christ's presence within us be reborn in this moment, guiding us to greater peace, joy, and courage. We release fear and embrace the fullness of your divine plan. Infinite One. And so it is. Amen. Amen. So love conquers fear. Let's say it together. Love conquers fear. Again. Love conquers fear. Again. Love conquers fear. And so it is.
So it is.